Hi, and welcome to the Same 24 Hours podcast. I'm Meredith Atwood, author of the book, The Year of No Nonsense. I'm a former attorney turned writer, speaker, and Ironman triathlete. Although right now, all I really like to do is lift weights. We all have the same 24 hours, but it's what we do in those hours that leads to our greatest health, happiness, and success. It's my goal to crack the code on a life of less nonsense so we can all make the most of our 24 hours. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Same 24 Hours podcast. I am your host, Meredith Atwood. Very excited about our guest today. Ken Coleman is here. Hello, Ken.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I know we have lots to talk about. So Ken is going to give us all the answers on how to pivot, all of them, every single one of them, how to make that career pivot. So many of you reach out to me and say, how are you no longer a lawyer? How do you make this decision? And I thought it would be great. I mean, I can always share my story, but Ken is an expert on this. He has a great book, The Proximity Principle, and we're just going to dive right in. So first question for you, why do people have a hard time leaving the career they do not love?
Well, there are probably 2 or 3 monsters that are keeping them from doing that. One is fear. And then I would say doubt, and then I would say pride. Now, in those kind of, those monsters all kind of have different factors that are at play there. So it could be fear of failure. This idea, if I leave one sector of a career and I move to another career, and if I fail, is that going to set me back financially? Another fear is of peers. I call it the fear of peers. And this is, what will others say? Yeah. What will other people say about me? Will they say that I'm delusional? Will they say, this is crazy? Family members are in that deal as well. So you've got a great career, pay, benefits. Why in the world would you leave that? That's a big one. But I think the biggest fear is the fear of the unknown. When you are in one career and you've achieved some success, and then you begin to think about changing, change is really an invitation to embrace the unknown. And the unknown, I think, is the greatest fear that humans have. So yes. I would say the fear of the unknown is the biggest fear. The doubt comes in with, I doubt that maybe I won't have what it takes. I doubt that I have time to make this change in my life. Maybe it's the ship has sailed kind of mentality. And then with pride, and I'm just running through these quickly to give you an example of all these monsters. Pride shows up in the form of, I don't want to ask anybody for help. I don't want to seem as though I was confused in an earlier part of my life. I don't want to seem as though I'm having a midlife crisis. It's that kind of thing. So fear, doubt, and pride are the reasons. I gave you examples of each, but it's fear, doubt, and pride. The reason people don't leave is it's one of those 3. Sometimes it's a combination of all 3.
Yes. And I feel all of those. I mean, I made a big pivot out of the legal profession. And, even to this day, when people, at a party, someone will say, what do you do? I'm like, well, I don't really, I don't really know. I used to be a lawyer, because I do all these other things now, but there is a sense of when you're an attorney, you're so proud of it, even though no one likes attorneys, right?
Interesting.
It's this whole, I tried this and you're kind of admitting failure, but not really. Mm-hmm. But you're admitting, it didn't work out for me. And those are all real human emotions. But yet we sit in it. We sit in the job for years and years. And so how does the proximity principle, let's jump to that. Like, how does that start to shift you into what you really want to do and have the courage to move out?
Well, proximity principle gives you momentum, and it begins to give you the momentum you need. And then it leads to opportunity. So the proximity principle is about momentum first and then opportunities. And here's what it is. In order to do what you want to do, fill in the blank. You've got to be around people that are doing it, and you got to be in places where it is happening. So what I'm focusing on here in that little paragraph or that 2-sentence thing here is people and places. So when I'm around the right people, and let's define right people as people that are doing what I want to do. people that are successful, whether it be in the field that I want to be in or not. And as you know, we give you 5 archetypes of people in the book, but the right people, when I'm around the right people, they tell me what I need to know. They point me to other people that are the right people. They point me to the right places. They'll put me in those right places sometimes. And so when I'm in the right places, guess what? I'm observing what I need to observe. I'm learning what I need to learn. I get the opportunity to do some things, and I meet some more of the right people. And so what happens is it becomes this cycle. When I'm around the right people, I get into the right places. When I'm in the right places, I meet the right people. And so what happens is, it's just kind of like a ladder, and it's building your little ladder to the next, to the next. And no matter how successful you are, you will always use the proximity principle. And it is just very simple. The formula is this: when I'm in the right place or I'm around the right people, the right time happens. So don't worry about the timing of anything, because if I'm always in the right place or I'm around the right people, the right time happens as a result of the diligence and the intentionality of being in the right place or around the right people. And so it's opportunity. And so it's like this: when I use the proximity principle properly, opportunity knocks on my door. I'm not ever having to kick doors down. It's kind of been romanticized, and it's like a movie. They kick every door down, and maybe, but I've never seen a lot of successful people whose story is full of doors they've kicked over.
They just kind of tapped.
No, it's actually somebody knocked on their door.
Okay.
And so that's the whole point. It's like this. If I told you, I said, hey, we got to catch a train, where should we go? You would go, you idiot, let's go to the train station. But why? Because that's where trains are.
Right.
And I know that if I stay at the train station long enough, the right train's coming. That's the idea here. It's just an intentionality. It's just understanding that people and places, I got to have my radar up all the time. And it's the intentionality. And if I do that, I'm not going to have to worry about advancement. I'm not going to have to worry about opportunity. It's going to show up.
I love this because I often talk about the crab bucket principle.
Yep.
Where if you're in a bucket, if you're a crab, or not, but if you were a crab and you're in a bucket with a bunch of other crabs and you try to escape, the other crabs are going to pull you down. That's right. So this proximity principle, I mean, if you're in the bucket with a bunch of crabs, nothing's going to happen. Well, something's going to happen. You're going to come back down to the level.
You just stay there until you get thrown in a pot and you boil and then you're toast. I used to eat crabs growing up. I love a good crab.
You sound a little Southern. Are you Southern?
Yeah, I'm a Virginian. So I grew up in
I'm from Georgia.
Where in Georgia?
Savannah originally, but Atlanta most of my adult life.
Gosh, I love Savannah. It's one of my favorite towns. We lived north of Atlanta, just in the suburbs.
We did
for
too.
11 years. Sewanee, Georgia.
We're in Roswell.
So I know Roswell. It's a great town.
Yeah. And we were in Lawrenceville for a little bit too. That's where I saw Dave the
right
first
next
time.
to Sewanee.
Yes, because he came and spoke at the Gwinnett Center before it's now got a new name. But
I know that area well. Yeah.
Funny, small world. Okay, so people and places.
Mm-hmm.
Let's rewind really quickly though, because I think sometimes people say, I know what I don't want, and that's where I'm at. Mm-hmm. What do I do if I don't know what I want? Like, I know I don't want to be here. What kind of people and places do I surround myself with? Yeah,
great question. So we're going to step back. So the proximity principle lives in the get qualified and get connected stage of my 7 stages to meaningful work. But stage 1 is the answer to your question. We've got to get clear. And so if you don't know what it is that you want to do, or you don't know where you want to be and why you want to do it, we accomplish that by getting clear. And there are 3 self-indicators. It's a self-awareness discovery process. And the 3 areas, by the way, the answer lies within you. So that's what's so fun about what we teach on the radio show. And I just walk men and women through this every day. So you first start with what you do best. That's talent. So we'll classify that as hard skills and soft skills. Everybody kind of knows what that is. But essentially, it's what you do best. I'm not interested in what you're average. I'm not even interested in your weaknesses. We only want to know, what are the things that you do best? That's talent. Next category, passion. And I define passion as work you love to do. So this is measured by emotion and devotion. So when you think about a task, a role, a function in the workplace, if you get excited about it, you get the juice. Like for me, I get excited before every radio show when I get ready to walk in the studio and the light goes on and I'm live, or if I'm speaking, or if I'm doing a coaching session, a one-on-one coaching session, I get the juice. I start thinking about it and I get excited. Okay. Yeah. By the way, interviews too. I love being interviewed. So I just want you to know I got the juice. All right. So I get high emotion thinking about it. When I'm engaged in it, high emotion. I'm loving it. And then I love to spend time doing it. That's devotion. I want to do it every day. I want to do it as much as possible. When I'm in the middle of it and I'm engaged in it, time seems to just disappear. That's high emotion, high devotion. So you think of just love is the word here. Love. What do you love to do? Forget about notoriety or money. Just the function itself. You go, oh, I love this. All right. So that's passion. The final indicator is mission. And I define mission as the results of your work that matter deeply to you. So you know this, all work produces a result.
Right.
Doesn't matter what kind of work it is. When I do work, it produces something, okay? And so we look at what are the results of that work I love that really matter to me. So for instance, let me explain this. I love broadcasting. I love speaking publicly, all that. And early on, as I was trying to figure out which way I was going to go, I looked into the sports broadcasting world because I love sports. I'm a sports maniac and I love it. Well, as I began to dabble in it, I did some sports broadcasting. I realized that it was the work I love, which was broadcasting. I love that. But I didn't want to talk about sports all day, every day. It got boring for me. There wasn't the juice. So if you look at what I do now, and I figured this out by process here of clarification, that I want to speak and broadcast and write for the purpose of helping others live and work on purpose. So while I still enjoy sports and I love sports talk radio, and if I were to guest host for a friend, I'd probably enjoy it for a day. But there's no way I'd want to do that every day. Why? Because the mission's not aligned.
Yes.
Am I good at broadcasting and communication? Yes. Talent's there. Do I love broadcasting? Yes. Passion's there. Do I want to talk about it? Is that what I want to produce out of my broadcasting? Is sports entertainment? No. So the mission wasn't there. So now I'm on mission because I want to broadcast for personal growth, for development, for clarity. So you have to look at the results. So I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but it's on purpose. When talent, passion, and mission intersect, or they align, you're in your sweet spot. So it looks like this: a purpose sentence for a person who's in their sweet spot, completely on purpose in their life, doing what they were created to do, looks like this. They would say, I use my talent, what I do best, to perform my passion, the work I love to do most, to produce my mission, or to complete my mission, the results that matter deeply to me. Yes. So then the simpler way is I use what I do best to do what I love to do to produce results that matter to me.
Yes.
That's the purpose sentence. That answers your why. Why am I on this planet? Well, to contribute. And you got to figure out what your contribution is, and it's in your sweet spot, the intersection of those three things.
Yeah. And I feel so much of what you're saying, because that's sort of the process I've been through as well. Yeah. Like when I first started podcasting, I was doing a joint show and we were coming up with topics, and I was like, I don't like doing this. I like interviewing people. And so that was a thing. And then I also, we talked offline, I'm almost 5 years sober, and I have a passion for that, but I can't be in the sobriety space every day, all day. Like like you said, the self-growth, like the personal growth is my jam too. I like to talk about all aspects of it, how you grow everything. But to be all day, every day on a podcast talking about sobriety, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And see, that's very important that you point that out, because sometimes we have great passion from our pain. And I see that a lot with callers. In your situation, there is some passion that developed out of the pain you've been through, but the passion is not completely aligned. It's not totally towards that. And so you don't want to talk about that every day because you're over here. So instead of trying to help people avoid or, get out of some type of substance abuse issues, that's not you. You're over here. And so that's really cool that you understand that. Whereas somebody else who went through your story could say, I'm going to spend the rest of my life helping people that have dealt with what I've dealt with.
Right.
There's no wrong answer there.
Sure. And what it allows me to do is like one-on-one, that's where I do most of my work too, is like one-on-one. I can do a lot of sobriety stuff to help people. It's the whole picture. So I love that you said that. And also one of your episodes, you said that clarity breeds confidence.
Yep.
And so this figuring out like the principles you just outlined, you get clear, and then it helps you move on to the next.
Well, yeah, because here's what happens. You go like this. I know who I am. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know why I'm supposed to do it. See, that's what comes out of that exercise. You really get clear on who you are, your unique makeup. And then you go, oh, okay, I get that. And now I know what I want to do, why I want to do it. And then we start looking towards the where. But the confidence that comes from clarity is what moves us off the bleachers and onto the field. And so, clarity does create confidence. No question. Which, by the way,
go ahead.
Well, I just want to say this. There are going to be times where you'll get really clear and you'll get confident. Then you step out on the path, right? And you know this. I know this. There will be times where life throws a lot of fear and doubt your way. And so that confidence will shrink. So what do? You retreat back to clarity. You go back to that exercise and you remind yourself, oh, that's just fear lying to me. Yes. That's just doubt lying to me. And I get clear again. I remind myself of my clarity, and then my confidence jumps back up. Sorry,
that's
I just
exactly what I was going to say.
That's exactly
what I was going to say is you get clear, you get confident, and then you get scared again. And it's this push and pull process that as long as you return back to that clarity, and in the work I do, we call it a dream. You go back to the dream, you read the dream every day, and then you keep your clarity. And like some days I read my dream about like my body or my career, and I go, oh yeah, I said that, even though I just read it yesterday. Like it's so easy for us to forget our heart and what we're good at, and to retreat back to what we're not so good at, and the comfort of the golden handcuffs, as in the case of.
Exactly right. No question about it. It's a very good point about the dream, because that's why we call it the dream job. And that's the Mount Everest. That's the pinnacle. And it helps to glance up on a regular basis, even when you're here and you're climbing. You don't want to stare, but you want to glance. Get up there and glance. That's where I'm heading. Ooh, gives me the juice. I get re-energized.
I like that. You don't want to stare, but you want to glance. That's good, because if you stare, you can't figure it out. You can't figure out stuff. You can't.
Yeah. Well, if you stare, here's what happens. You obsess about the next, and you miss what you need to do. You miss what you need to learn. You miss what you need to be in the now. And the obsession with the next ends up killing the next. So the way I say it is, when you obsess about the next, you miss what you need in the now and sacrifice the next. So, there is no next if I don't win the now. And so when I'm climbing up that mountain, I'm in stage 3 and it's really, really tough. It's important when I start to feel like quitting that I glance up and go, that's why I'm here. I'm struggling right now. I know I got to look up, I got to glance, but I also got to get my head back down so that I can actually keep climbing through stage 3 or whatever it is. So that's the importance there. It's important to look at the next, don't obsess about it.
So how important is it to have a 5-year plan, a 1-year plan, a plan, and habits and consistency? So like, what is your overall view on how, we're clear, we're getting near people and places, like what now? What do we do?
I really like that question. I don't know that I've been asked that question that way before.
It's my goal every episode.
Good. Well, it's a really good question. And my answer to that is, should you have a plan? Yes. But I would hold the time loosely. So plan that is going to get me to the goals. So the plan is how I get to the mile markers, the goals. So I really like the goals, and I like the plan to get to the goals. And I don't think there's any problem with going, I'd like to be here in 3 years. I'd like to be here in 5 years. I'd like to accomplish this in the next year. I don't have a problem with that, but we as humans, we're really, really interesting creatures in that if we really lock in on the timeline, and the timeline becomes the focus, not the actions, not the plan, not the goal, guess what happens? When the timeline doesn't go our way, we're crushed, we're disappointed, we're discouraged, and then we get distracted. So, I'll give you an example of that. When I first started out, I was 31, 32, and I told my wife, I said, babe, it's probably going to be 5 to 7 years. This is a 5 to 7 year play, I think, before I catch a major break. And it ended up being about 7.5, where I got a really good break. And then it was 2 more years. So it was 9 years before I got the big break. And it's the only time I ever mentioned time to her. I just thought, this is a guess. It's a gut feeling, but I wasn't sitting there going, oh gosh, I've only got a year left. Oh no, I'm a big failure.
Right.
I think that's why I'm answering that the way. I'm not trying to be so specific and neurotic, but I'm speaking to our neurosis and the way we are. And so if we're always focused on the timeline, we start to feel like we're not making progress. It's like nobody has any idea how long it's going to take. That's part of the deal. Right. That's part of the journey. So that would be my answer to that. Sure, goals that are clear, plan to get to the goals. Timeline, sure, throw this is what I'd like to happen, but hold that really loosely.
Right. And I have an example of that too. So I read, I guess it was Robert Greene's Mastery, and then all these examples that it takes 10 years to master and 10 years to make it.
Yep.
Right. Well, my 10-year time came up in August.
Yep.
And I remember thinking, well, hell, it was just like,
yeah.
But I let it pass. But there was a moment, because I had just heard that, and I thought, well, surely by 10 years I will have arrived. And it's not like I've gone downhill and fallen off.
No.
There's been steady growth, and I just keep doing. But we get these perceptions in our head, like it's got to be this thing and this thing. And I've also realized that the goals, the outcome that we're seeking sometime is not the actual goodness. Like the goodness is the impact one-on-one or who you touch. And it's not necessarily numbers. And there's so many things that we get bogged down in goal making. And so what is something that you do to encourage your listeners to kind of eye on the prize, eye on the important things?
Well, when you're focused on your why constantly, and that's why I teach this process of that purpose sentence, because that answers the question why. And so once I know my why, then I can figure out the where, and that's the vision. So that's your mountaintop, your pinnacle. And then you figure out the how. That's the plan. And so what I try to tell people is you better stay focused on the why, because that is what keeps you in the game. So it keeps you in the game. It's the love of what you're doing. It's I understand that this is who I am at my core, and I'm going to get to the end of my life. If I don't do this, I'm going to regret it. And so I'm trying to teach people, let's get to the end of our life and let's reminisce on the journey. Let's not regret. And so it's pretty simple. It's don't lose sight of the why. And the why is what, again, informs the where and the how. And if you do that, it's going to be pretty hard to stop you. Because again, the person who is completely focused and on purpose, they don't quit because it's bigger than them. It has nothing to do with them. It has everything to do with the meaning. And we get meaning from our contribution. And so it's why the great coaches don't stop coaching after they win. It's why the great business people keep growing and keep dreaming. It's why the inventors don't stop. It's why people who do great things in the area of faith or the nonprofit or the political world, where they join things together, or they mount these unbelievable campaigns or causes or crusades or whatever you want to say. There's something deeper behind it. It's like MLK Jr. What's haunting about his final speech is that he alludes to the fact that I may not get there with you, but I've been to the mountaintop and I've looked over. And when you hear someone speak that way, that's unbelievable purpose and vision is what he's saying. And And then, you know, tragically he gets shot the next day, and it's a haunting, his final speech. I'd recommend everybody read it or listen to it, to really get a grasp of what it's like to live on purpose. And that's what keeps you in the game, even when your life is in danger, because it's not about you. It's
Right.
bigger than you.
Right. So, one more question. This podcast is called The Same 24 Hours, meaning that we all have the same 24 hours, but it's what we do in those hours that leads to our greatest health, happiness, and success. So, I like to ask my guest, what is something that you do on a daily basis that you really think gives you a great boost, and contributes to your 24 hours being like the best they can be?
Yeah, you know, it's quiet time in the morning. And I really believe in the first thought in and the last thought in. There's a lot of science behind that, but it's just good old-fashioned psychology. And first thing I do of note, I mean, the first thing I do is I turn my alarm off, and my coffee's already made, and I go get coffee, and I sit down, and the first thing I do is I go through a practice of gratitude. And I'm simply praying and thanking God for multiple things in my life. And that's gets me started, and it sets me in a place where, man, I'm just really blessed today. I don't know what today holds, but as of right now, I'm blessed. My entire life up to this point, this is what I'm grateful for. And I think that that's a huge thing. And then reflection, and whether that's prayer for some folks, for others it's meditation or just quiet time. But I think that's really important. And you only ask for one, but the other thing is that I've learned to do is turn my work off.
Yes. Can I get my husband in here real quick?
Yeah, get him in here. I'll get all over him, because
I know
we have 3 kids, and so when I'm home, I rarely work. It's very rare. When I'm writing a book, there'll be some nights where I've got to do some editing or something like that, or some writing. But when I'm at home, I'm just dad, and I'm hubs. And that's, I think, is really important. Somebody asked me this the other day, a podcaster. What that does for me is allows me to turn my work brain off. And I've been going, doing absolutely what I love, pouring myself out. You know, I've already been on the air for a couple hours today and given everything I got to callers. Right now, I'm totally focused, giving everything I got to you and your audience. But when I go home, I just need to be a different dude. And so I take the work hat off, and the career coach guy, the broadcaster guy off. And I'm just a dad. And so my brain is in a completely different engagement, and everything is totally different. And when I immerse myself in being husband and dad, and the caregiver to my 2 massive doodles, Riggins and Ellis, it allows me to be completely refreshed, and my batteries recharge. Yeah. So that by the time I get in the car to head to work the next morning, I've already taken my kids to school, I've engaged there and all that, and now I'm ready to flip that switch on again. And so I think besides the normal rest and self-care and all that stuff, I think understanding that you are really a 2-dimensional person. There's the relationship you, and then there's the professional you. And to the extent that you can really separate those 2 in a daily rhythm, I think it's huge.
Yeah. And I mean, this is an incredible theme throughout this whole interview today, is presence. Yeah. If you can maintain presence in your life and be in the moment, and with your family, when you're with your family, or in the step forward as you're climbing your mountain, right? Just being in the moment, because it's all we have.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, we're reminded every day that we're not promised tomorrow. And, you know, I think I'm blessed because I'm a high functioning ADHD, I'm told. And we tend to kind of be present a little bit more, you know, because we're just so, you know, we're either hyper focused or hyper distracted.
Right.
And it creates a lot of moments of hyper focus. And I think for ADHD, we get hyper focused when we're doing something we love and we're good at. For everybody else, you can have that focus. You don't struggle like us, but really focusing in the moment, you know, wherever you are. And I think what happens is a lot less stress and anxiety takes place, because you're not worried about the meeting an hour from now, not worried about the phone call 10 minutes from now. Just not worried about any of that. There's going to be plenty of time to deal with that. But right now, I love being surprised by my calendar. My publicist Will sitting over there, and he's laughing right now. But I mean, I kind of like the surprise. Like, I'm not sure what tomorrow is, but I'll figure it out right before bed or the next morning. You know what I mean?
He's
like it's already taken care of
boss.
itself. Yeah, well, he knows. I mean, he knows. Right. But I mean, it's like, oh, great, this is next. And I really like that because I go, oh, I've got an interview with Meredith coming up. Great. Now I'm going to be totally focused on this. And I have no idea what's next. I really don't. Fun. Now, for some people, that's scaring you and freaking you out. So you got to be you. But there's something to the fact that you still have time, you planning nerd people, to look at your calendar and get to the next thing. But in the moment, just be there.
Right. For sure.
And I do think there's tremendous freedom there.
Yes. Yes, I love it. Okay, Ken, so where can everyone listen to you? Where can we find you and get your book?
Yeah, sure. Well, we're on radio stations all around the country. So your FM, AM talk station, kencoleman.com for the details on all this stuff. We're on SiriusXM, their business channel, every day as well. And then we're on YouTube, live stream every day. Just search the Ken Coleman Show on YouTube. That's at 12 Eastern time. And we podcast the radio show, the SiriusXM show, every day as well. So kencoleman.com, at Ken Coleman on Instagram. Come join me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. This was great.
This was fun. Thanks for having me.